difficult burden on Rival.
You got to remember, there's only 3 match days left, and with these schedules all these teams have, something as simple as a point, 1 overtime loss, essentially, at this point, could be the difference between them staying in for the next round robin and keeping their chance to play for the $325,000 prize pool, or going home.
Well, that's gonna be it for us right now. Let's go and head into the very first map of this battle.
Prokhorovka, one of the first maps in the game. Teams start at the regular spawn points as they do in standard battles. Bases are separated from each other by the railway, so the defending team has to choose whether to send their vehicles to the left side, playing them in the centre, or to the right of the railway, occupying the hill and a part of the village. The attacking team usually attacks the first base. However, the teams often go for face-to-face confrontations, 7-on-7, in the hilly terrain at the centre. That's why both teams frequently use vehicles with good gun depression angles and sturdy turrets.
And here we go, the very first battle of the night between Rival and eClipse. Talk to us a little bit about the lineup here.
So, Rival coming out with a T110 E5, 2 113s, 2 Object 140s, a Batchat, and an RU 251. So choosing to go relatively heavy there. Rival are on defense, so bringing that E5 to play those ridges. They've been really favoring those 113s. Do bring a good bit of weight. 440 alpha guns, pretty hard hitting.
A lot of burst, though, coming out of eClipse here with, I believe it was 5 Batchats.
Yeah, so...
Or, excuse me, 4 Batchats.
Yeah, so I'd expect to see Rival play a West Side defense, which is something they've really been favoring this season.
I lied, it was 3 Batchats.
And then, going over the lineup of eClipse, like you were just alluding to, an IS-7 Vetro in that Centurion Action X. Kind of a rather odd pick there.
Yeah,
but
I was going to say,
if he likes it, he likes it. A 140, 3 Batchats, and an RU 251.
Something really interesting to note here, it's not actually going to be Dark God Zim, it's going to be Wallhacks sitting in that 251, the Tier 8 Light. We're actually going to have Ox Mathis sitting in the IS-7 Heavy from the Russian side of the world. So we're going to see both of these players now from High Voltage now integrated into the eClipse lineup.
Now, I'm not a big fan of this setup out of Rival. They have Commander J in that 140 sitting back at C1 with the RU just in front of him passive. There's not a whole lot from stopping that RU from just being completely run over, as Ox Mathis takes a couple shots
Take a few shots there. That IS-7 is a little slower with good armor, but still 1,400 damage. That's a track. He's immediately going to use his repair kit to make sure that he makes it over, and he's still taking shots here.
Meanwhile, T1 Diabetic
oh my
leading the
goodness,
push.
Ox is about to go down within the first 30 seconds of the game.
Rival reacting very well. They're shifting their heavies towards the 2 line right now.
Oh, all these shots. Ox is still lit. In fact, I believe he's the only tank right now lit for the team of eClipse. He is one just breath away from being taken out.
Mort and T1 Diabetic both chasing down Commander J. Meanwhile, Aggressor and Unknown One trying to pop up and find shots on Vetro.
They are going to find shots on Vetro as he's going to take a little bit of damage there. Unknown also taking a little bit of damage, as is Commander J, and he just gets erased off the map. Meanwhile, Mort taking a little bit of damage as Pub Whisperer is going to go down to Tigers. But Ox finally goes down to E63.
HP lead is in favor of Rival only by about 500. As I say that, down to 300. And back and forth trades. However, these autoloaders are going to start running out of shots.
This is actually a very good situation for Rival here. As you stated, although they are down a tank, they are going to be ahead as far as the clips go for these autoloaders out of eClipse.
So everyone's just kind of working along this 2-line ridge.
Oh, Executus going to take out Tigers. This is very huge for Team Rival. Very early on, I think a victory in this battle would be an absolutely massive confidence booster and give them quite the momentum they're going to need throughout this series.
Yep, they need to find a way to get down T1 Diabetic, though, working down there in the south.
Fortunately, though, he has his clip now. Executus not doing too well with the HP, and he's going to step over this ridge here and try to find a shot on Aggressor on Unknown One, and he's going to find Aggressor. T1 Diabetic going to find Unknown One, as Vetro takes down another tank right before, but Diabetic still taking shots. Vetro very low as well. That 113 of E63 is going to have to do a lot of work here as Wallhack slowly creeps away, and he's going to find him. E63 with the shot. Unfortunately, though, Brent right behind. He's not going to get the kill, which is going to give E63 and the 113 one more shot, hopefully to put some damage onto that tank. So he's not going to find it.
Coffee Thief looking for a kill shot. He knows T1 Diabetic just fired all his shots, and the only tank he has supporting him is Executus back behind him, who smartly backed away. He does have a full clip and is starting to let loose his shots onto Brett.
Executus going to find a shot there on a Brett, and if he can, unfortunately, Vetro is not spotted, and T1 Diabetic now goes dark on the map as well for him, so this is going to be very tough. Coffee Thief in the RU-251, that Tier 8 Light is on paper armor And the fact that he has no HP as well is going to be very tough for him to be effective, not only getting the lights, but even just surviving long enough to get a shot off to help out Executus here. Luckily, though, for these two players of Team Rival, Brett is essentially a 2-shot, Vetro is a 1-shot, and T1 Diabetic literally just needs to be breathed on right now.
Now, he does have the tank's corpse of Commander J sitting in front of him that he is trying to move around. You cannot really see it there in the bushes, but it's the only thing keeping him alive.
Oh, and Vetro's going to find the shot. Very nice. Going to take out Coffee Thief, which now puts the burden all on the shoulders of Executus for Team Rival.
Now, he can kill all of them with one clip, but he only can take essentially one shot. Now, he could, if Vetro or Brett low roll, he could eat the shell. Even the Bat Chat, a low roll out of that would be right around his HP, so it would be real close.
Here's the thing, though. Something else to note is we've been seeing a lot of bounces come off these Bat Chats in the last few broadcasts, which is nuts because the armor on a Bat Chat, I mean, that's not what the tank is known for.
No, not at all. French tanks in general just aren't known for armor. Like I've said before, I'm not sure that the French even have a word for armor because they just don't seem to understand the concept.
I think it's Cote d'Armor. I don't know. But either way, it's a very tall order right now for Executus to be able to make this happen, but it is not impossible.
Yep, and he's actually choosing to sit over in a bush, sitting around D8, hoping that he can catch someone coming over this ridge, and if Brett isn't careful...
Well, and here's something else to note. It is 5 minutes left on the clock, but, I mean, Executus is still on defense, so really it's up to Eclipse to have to make the next move. It's how they set up that's really going to affect what's going to happen by the end of this battle.
Yeah, Brett, so just making some little pokes there, trying to see if he can figure out where Executus is, seeing if he gets lit. Not lighting each other, and Executus actually choosing to drive away at this point as he gets lit.
Uh-oh, that's not very good, as now Vetro is lining up a shot. Like you said, it was a lower roll, so Executus is going to live, but he has to worry about Centurion, the Centurion AX of Vetro now. And T1 Diabetic is also still lurking around somewhere on this map, so he is finally delit, and he is going to back off. 70 seconds about left on that cap. The problem is he needs to not only worry about the cap pressure, but he also has to worry about the other two tanks that are not lit or not even close to that cap as they're setting up for shots. And right now, it looks like Brett and Executus are going to proc slide each other, and we'll see what happens here. Vetro still, again, on the cap, looking for that angle in that Centurion. It's very, very tough, and he's going to get the shot off. Unfortunately, though, Brett, with the HP to take it, is going to kill him.
Yeah, so a little fortunate snapshot there for Executus. He managed to land it on Brett, but he couldn't dodge the shot, deciding that he didn't have a whole lot of time. And if he'd even made it over that ridge, T1 Diabetic was sitting down there on the 2-line in the south, would have had a clean shot on him.
It was a really rough situation for him.
I do like it, though, out of Rival. I like the play.
I was just about to say, I agree.
I like the play for everything except for Commander J. However, the little adaptation that I didn't predict was they knew that once that push came that he had to run, which is why I wasn't a big fan of that position to begin with, because once they closed, he would have been isolated there. So he can get a couple shots off. He managed to shoot Oxmathis a couple times without actually being spotted, and then chose to ran and get back into that north B2 corner along the bend there where you can hold down. However, the problem is that once all three of those Bat Chats close point blank, it's a 140 and a Bat Chat and an RU-251.
So much damage.
Against three Bat Chats fully loaded, ready to
a lot of alpha.
Eclipse. So, yeah, and in those situations, if you can keep the constant fire gun alive, Commander J, it can work out because once those autoloaders are all reloading, they can sit there and just pump out more damage.
Speaking of,
looking at it, T1 Diabetic, the first tank that down that push, did 3,400 damage. Vetro putting up 2,900 in that Action X, and then Executus, Coffee Thief, and E63 all following up for the side of Rival Simple Tankers. That RU-251 of Coffee Thief just able to do 2,600 damage over 10 shots. Great stuff there out of their tier 8 player. Aggressor only putting up 1,500. Pub Whisperer in the 140, another 1,200. And then Commander J, who was the first one focused out on that push, only got off 942. And the surprising one there is another one. He was alive for a little while. However, the 113's not having the greatest gun depression. He really struggled to get good, consistent shots off on that push of Eclipse. Now, the other thing to note there is Oxmathis down on the low end. He really wasn't able to get off any shots. So, not really surprising there, but you kind of question the route that he took to get there. He went up and over. He went really close to where the RU-251 could light him, and he lost almost all his HP going up and over. Now, whether that was by design to draw shots, so when those Bat Chats pushed, they didn't take as much damage, that has yet to be seen.
Well, we now head into the second battle on Prokhorovka.
The teams have switched sides going over the lineups here. Rival coming in with a 113, 4 Object 140s, a Batchat, and an RU-251. Meanwhile, Eclipse coming in with 3 113s, 2 140s, a Batchat, and an RU-251. So both teams deciding to go with RU-251. However, Rival may be hoping that Eclipse do what I was just talking about and bring a lot of bursts, bring a lot of Batchats, and hope that they can hopefully wager the consistent fire of those 140s against them. However,
unfortunately, Eclipse not taking the bait. In fact, they only have one autoloader, and that is going to be the Batchat. So,
yep. So these 113s pushing right towards the middle ridge, and this just screams aggression out of Eclipse. They're all moving right to this middle ridge right off the get-go. These 113s are not stopping. They may even pop over and crest.
And Wallhacks and Coffee Thief are each going to find each other, and they're going to back off. Losing that Tier 8 Light Scout early would actually be very unfortunate for either one of these teams. So they are going to go ahead and decide to just get the Prox Light and back off and look for different angles.
Absolutely. Tiger's chilling out over in the one line, just making sure his team doesn't get pushed. However, the tank to note right now, the one tank I'm not thrilled about, is E63 in that 113. He's so isolated from the rest of his team. And while they would have to crest that ridge to where the 140s and Batchat could have shots on them, they could potentially get into the low ground and get an isolation where they wouldn't take a whole lot of damage.
He is very split, though.
And he is actually choosing to take this moment to shift back over to the rest of his team and get in front of those 140s who are all sitting back down there in the southwest corner.
And we see Mort kind of trying to stick over. Again, E63 and Mort have not been lit yet. However, the 113 of T1 Diabetic has been. Now, of course, if you are new, once again, being lit means that you are available to be seen on the map.
You are spotted. Those that have played pub matches or have played World Tanks at all, you know that all the tanks on the other team are not visible unless they have been spotted. So they have to drive within the view range of these tanks. All the tanks have different view ranges, different equipment and perks affect the view range and the camo values of all of these tanks. So when the names light up yellow, that does mean they are spotted and the whole other team can see them. Now, the only limitation to that is there is a render range that's set at 400 and I want to say it's 445 meters. However,
not be wrong, James.
That is the view range cap. That's the farthest they can see. Just outside of that is the render range, and if a tank is outside of that, I believe it's just over 450 meters, they will not be able to actually see them. They can still blind fire towards it, however, they will not appear on their screen even if they're lit for the whole team. The only thing they will see is they will see them on the minimap. Meanwhile, Rival taking this moment to shift all the way over to the east, trying to set up to take this 2-cap, including E63, who has moved back over into the southwest corner, and he's actually just going to sit there, hold down off of that ramp. And Eclipse deciding just to hold still right here. They haven't really felt this rotation come out of Rival. The RU-251 has not spotted anybody.
This could potentially, though, be a very good push here for Rival if they're able to catch Eclipse off guard.
The thing that I'm actually most curious about is this very strat has gotten Eclipse into trouble a couple times already this season. This was the strat that they lost to Apex with.
Apex, yes.
Apex ran a bait where they sent a couple tanks over towards the 9-0 and they left the rest of them down in the south at Kilo 3, hoping that Eclipse would just push down here and try to clear it. Rival actually choosing to take this moment to blind fire that A0 bush, hoping that there's nothing up there. There is actually a low ground ridge right there, so if he was sitting in that bowl, he probably would not be taking any damage. However, hoping he was more forward in one of the bushes, if he was there at all, trying to get some blind fire, nothing coming of it though.
Very cautiously, Rival is starting to push down this 9-0 line across the map, but again, very cautiously. Wallhacks is set up at the very back of that A6 postcode, but definitely a different start here for the second battle, as the first battle was lightning quick. Tanks were being lost left and right by both teams, opting to slow it down, not only from Rival, but as well as Eclipse.
So what'll be interesting here is to see Eclipse's response once these tanks start getting spotted. Once again, they took the long route last time. They wanted to make sure they cleared the whole 1-2 line, and they got them into some trouble. So we'll have to see if they've made any adaptations. Now, however, this time Rival obviously not going with the bait, so it would just be wasted time for Eclipse.
5 minutes left now on the clock.
if they
So
really
they
wanted.
are going to have to make some sort of a move within the next 90 seconds here if they want any chance of either capping or putting some pressure onto Team eClipse.
So Coffee Thief clearing that A0 corner, making sure that there's nothing sitting up there.
He's going to find wall
But
hacks, though, I believe.
Yeah, they do actually spot each other, so now this is where we may start to see eClipse start rotating some tanks out. Now, once again, if you notice, they actually haven't moved, so they're not entirely sure.
Those 140s are in the same spot.
They're not entirely sure that all the tanks have moved over to the 9-0. Once again, this could be just their lessons learned from the previous matches here. Obviously, they can't see everything that we see. They only know that the RU-251 is over there. The rest
and
of the
here we
tanks
go.
haven't
The
been spotted.
140s are now finally pushing back north, as is the Batchat of Tigers. So now this is going to be a very difficult situation if Rival decides to go the way they were. But now it looks like they're actually taking those 140s back south. They may try to go somewhere up the 1-2 line as the little duel here between Coffee Thief and Wallhacks ensues.
Now, this may also be a product of that strat that Apex ran against them. They've actually shifted all their tanks back up into the north. If they're predicting that a team is running the exact same strat against them, they could figure out that there are less tanks here. Now, obviously, Rival weren't running the same strat.
Oh, this is very bad.
They've taken this moment to rotate the tanks out back into the south, and they could be caught with their hands down.
This is going to be gross. Tigers now taking shots on the E63 as well as Coffee Thief. And here comes Betro as well as Brett in the 2-140s. A lot of damage coming on the Coffee Thief. They're going to find E63 again on that little ridge, or excuse me, that little shoreline, and he is going to go down just like that.
The timing on this out of both teams is just
Aggressor
amazing.
Now. Yes.
And they're just pushing in. It's so funny that we're sitting here talking about the strat that Apex ran against them. Eclipse do exactly what you do to counter it, and it was just Rival's bad luck to rotate at that time back into the south. They
Maybe
weren't even running the same strat.
I don't know. It's very unfortunate, but Eclipse find themselves in a much more advantageous position, getting shots on not only Aggressor, but as well as Executive. Coffee Thief is also getting fairly low, especially in that Tier 8 light, and it looks like Eclipse is just working their way forward so they can clean up the team of Rival here.
Now, the other thing to think about here is if Rival had run the exact same, stayed with the same strat that they opened with, and stayed in those positions,
they might have had a better brawl.
This would have been a slaughter.
Right.
This would have been over. Rival would have walked away with this. If they had stayed up in those positions on the hill where they can shoot down as they come over, it would have just been
nice
an
shot
open
from Tigers.
shooting gallery.
Right, it would have been a brawl, but because of the way that their tanks rotated, they were completely overmatched.
I don't even know that it would have been a brawl. All the 140s up on the hill, they would have had to cross so far to get any amount of cover, and once they did get the cover, they would have been left down in the water in the low ground where they couldn't get out, or they'd be on the other side where they can't cover their
cleaning
teammates.
up the team of Rival, and this is very easily going to go in favor of Team Eclipse there. Wow.
Just so unlucky out of Rival. They were so close to getting it right.
Telling you, Wally, those wall hacks, they knew exactly what was happening.
See what you did there.
No, that was... It... Again, like you said, it was just extremely unfortunate. Like, the second that they moved those 140s south from Team Rival down the 8-9 line, as soon as they rotated, that's exactly when Eclipse decided to come in,
They were making they were playing mind games with each other. Because if you think about it, so Rival set up assuming that Eclipse would have some sort of game plan for that strat that Apex ran. Right. Essentially, they would be all right. So if this has been happening to them, they've been walking into these traps, so they're going to be doing. They're going to do something to adjust for it. So let's go play the west side. Let's go set up and leave all our tanks over there and just cover that. And hopefully they'll take enough time clearing that line because they're so cautious about it that we can get out the cap pressure going and that time can work in our favor. We'll get back to that in a moment. Looking at the damage, Commander J top on his team at 2,500, and then 6 players from Eclipse coming in there, 2,300, 2,100, 2,000, 2,000, 1,600, and 1,400. Pretty consistent damage across the board. 4 players above 2,000. Nice even damage spread. No insane outliers. Ox and Betro, both known as damage farmers in their own right, both having to compete for all of the same HP on the field, and neither one besting the other at this point. Brett, being the only player slacking for Eclipse, needs to pick it up, do better to match the rest of his team. I say that with a smirk on my face. The rest of Rival down there on the bottom half, 900, 900, 800. They just got isolated. E63 didn't have any support other than the 140 and then Executus that were there. However, they were up on the high ground, and because there wasn't enough guns to overwhelm just the vast majority of Eclipse that pushed over there, they really couldn't do anything, and those 140s took a long time to rotate back. So,
yeah, like you said, had they just kept those tanks in that position, it would have been a much better situation for Rival.
And looking at it, and what Eclipse did is they said, all right, we're going to assume that these guys are running a similar sort of trap. You know, they're showing us the same thing. They didn't show a majority of their tanks over there. They only showed the RU-251 to each other. So they go, all right, we don't have that intel for sure. We don't know that all their tanks have shifted over towards the north. And Eclipse did what they would do to counter that strat, and it worked by luck.
Yep. All right, well, let's go ahead and head into our next map between Rival and Eclipse.
Steps, the most open map in the league. The attacking team appears near the rocks at the bottom of the map, and the defending team starts at the top. Bases are located near the railway and on the green. The best way to control them is to use the lowland near the second base. The attacking team usually begins the attack from the rocks and the railway, but sometimes they can attack through the green. Teams often drag vehicles from flank to flank, so both teams usually pick light vehicles with a good camouflage rating, but sometimes use tanks with a strong turret and even SPGs.
As we now head into battle number 3, we see the lineups here. It's going to be 2 215Bs for Eclipse, 2 Batchats, an RU-251, and 2 Object 140s. So definitely set up with some heavy tanks there, as well as some damage in the burst from the autoloaders. And looking at Rival, we're going to see a 113, 2 140s, a TVP, 2 Batchats, and an RU-251. So actually quite a bursty little lineup here from Rival as we look at this boost.
Gets lit up making the climb. He's going to go down. Oh, and they did it doing the climb.
That was so fast.
Now Eclipse are going to go ahead and continue doing the boost over here. Off camera, though, Rival set up for that boost. They knew that that boost was likely. They pushed that RU-251 straight across the field, and he got there just in time to catch T1 Diabetic trying to do the same boost. That is the second match night in a row where T1 Diabetic has been caught out trying to do that climb by himself. The last match day, he missed it the first time, stuck around to do it a second time, and he died. This time, he didn't even make it. The timing there on it to set up and make it work, just not fast enough, and he goes down.
Wow.
Real unfortunate stuff there for them, and this is the second match in a row.
Real unfortunate indeed.
This is the second.
He's down.
This is the second match in a row where T1 Diabetic has been the first tank dead on this map.
You gotta imagine he's pretty upset right now.
Well, and he did it right the first time as well.
Right.
However, Rival doing their homework, understanding, all right, if we go straight there, can we catch a tank out? And they got the timing down. They had all the guns lit up. And first it started off with 600, and then it just built up, and he went down. And now they have the north clear.
They have the north clear, and even they have a tank down, and even a little bit of damage on Vetro and Tigers. Now that's obviously from boosting, but even still, I mean, damage is damage.
They're down by about 1,400 HP right now. Now the other thing to remember is last time when they were in this situation, it was M60s who decided to go with a cheeky cap fast, throw away 2 tanks to get it done. They did make it work, and Eclipse did fall. However, at this point, Rival's choosing to rotate out.
So it looks, I mean, the whole team right now is moving south.
Yeah, they're moving south, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to find a situation where they can utilize that extra gun they have alive.
And take the overmatch.
Try to find a situation that works for them. Now, they've rotated all around south, hoping that Eclipse do some sort of push through the south. They know that their whole team was just spotted in the north when they killed T1 Diabetic.
Correct.
So they're hoping, so Rival playing some mind games here, essentially. So they went north, all their tanks were spotted when they killed T1 Diabetic. However, what they did then is we're all going to get unspotted, so they're going to wait the 6 seconds. And with the extra perk that these crews have, I believe it's actually 8 seconds, and drop down. There is one really obscure perk for the crews that not a lot of people use or know about, which allows tanks to remain spotted for an extra 2 seconds after they've been lit.
And still quite a lot of the team of Eclipse thinks that they are still set up somewhere towards the northwest there, and they are completely the opposite. They're set up way down south towards the east, so this is a very good situation in which I really hope Rival can take advantage, but we'll have to see how the rest of this battle plays out.
So they are just hoping right now to hopefully get one more pick just to make this easy. They do have the extra 1,400 HP to play with, so they could just go for a push right now. Having the extra gun and the HP lead, they should be able to capitalize on it. However, if the push is a little bit sloppy and eClipse is able to focus their fire well, it's not something that eClipse could turn around right now.
Especially in those two 215Bs. That's such an accurate and high alpha tank.
Well, it's not even a high alpha for heavy tank, but just high DPM.
Right.
Because that's such a quick reload.
Excuse me. That's what I meant.
Yeah, it's just such high DPM.
It just puts out a lot of alpha.
It can chew through a push very, very quickly. Coffee Thief choosing to flex back around the north. Vetro is the tank boosted up into a 0.
And they are taking quite a few tanks with them. The 140 is going, as is the Batchat, the 113. And something to note, these are faster tanks, so if anything does go south real quick, they can actually rotate out. But that being said, this could be a bait. They are quite split, and I don't like that because we've seen splits not work in the favor of most teams this season. Now, that's not to say that they're going to keep with this split and actually try to push that way, but even still, if an overmatch is found, it could very well tip the favor right back in eClipse's way.
Absolutely, and the thing to look at here is how eClipse respond to some cap pressure being put on. Now, when you're down numbers like this, the best thing you can do is keep your guns as together as possible and not run a split. And that's just because you can hopefully, when you have more guns in the same area, you can hopefully, if you can all shoot the same target, you can take it out quicker and you can turn the battle around.
Right, or, alpha striking, as you call it sometimes.
Exactly. It just, good focus fire, hitting, a good solid volley into a tank with a lot of guns, and just hit it, knock it down, and it's done. Now, the thing is Rival are trying to get a bait where they catch some tanks out in the south. If I'm sitting here for eClipse right now, already being down a tank, I don't know that rotating tanks through the south is the call that I go for. I say try to risk it, keep our guns together in the north, and try to do the resets the old-fashioned way. The blind fire, pushing a tank down into C5, and just trying to get the lights that way, just because I think it's a little bit safer way to play it. And Commander J, or Coffee Thief, taking some damage there on Cap, and that RU-251, his driver is dead. He is backing up. He actually has not been lit, so good blind fire there out of eClipse.
A little bit of damage going on to Tigers as well as Brett as they find a few shots, but nothing insurmountable as Coffee Thief is now trying to still angle on Cap to cause pressure. However, there is only 3 minutes and 45 seconds left here on this clock, so they need to make sure that whether it's going to be with Cap pressure, they either get an extra tank on Cap or try to get a little more aggressive in their offense. Something is going to have to happen because time is running out for Team Rival here.
Yep, Coffee Thief taking one more shot of damage. Vetro has them actually out of render range at that point.
Coffee Thief is he's pretty much dead here.
He's choosing to back off, keep his gun alive.
Tigers right now is lit, but he is not in threat of being shot at. As we now watch the pressure slowly mount onto Team Rival, who actually started this battle in a lead, taking out the tank of T1 Diabetic.
Another thing to look at right now is there's only 3 minutes left, so whatever play they're going to make, they need to make now.
Yeah, and they are looking to do a split push, James. I don't like this.
Now, this could work out for them. The thing they have to worry about is they do have Vetro up in the hills where he's relatively safe and hold down. Some shots going out into Pub Whisperer in the distance, taking 400 damage from Oxmathis in that 215B.
Yep, 2 minutes and 30 seconds left here. Team Rival needs to make something happen. They are running out of time. And again, they can't afford to really lose this entire series. They really can't. This is going to be absolutely detrimental to them as they're going to go further down and be threatened of being relegated. But finally, some shots coming out of Team Rival here as they land some on eClipse. Vetro going to take a little bit of damage, as is Unknown One. But right now, still the HP pool advantage is in favor of Rival.
Ever so slightly, though, it's about the same amount of HP pool that they had when they started this play. And now eClipse is trying to push through the north. They've stacked up most of their tanks here.
And they are starting to finally converge. That split push is now turning into one cohesive unit as they move on to the RU-251 of Wallhacks. That Teary Light is going to fall immediately.
Starting to make this work. However, the thing is right now is Rival really need to get some tanks on Cap just because they can't consistently kill Vetro unless he misplays it. So that means they'd have to get a tank boosted up there to kill it within the next minute 30, and I don't see that happening. So the only other play is to get Cap pressure going on that one Cap.
And slowly right now, Rival is actually being picked apart. And this is exactly what we were afraid of, James.
So they are choosing to move the 140 and Coffee Thief and that RU-251 over onto Cap. and they will start that cap pressure. Only a little over a minute left.
Lots of damage coming here. Oxmath is going to take out Commander J, and Aggressor going to trade him out in the TVP, and then he's going to get another kill onto Mort. That TVP, again, such a fast shot recovery on that auto loader, and he's going to take out 2 tanks. Meanwhile, Vetro and Brett are going to come in and take out Pub Whisper and E63. This is very close. eClipse getting dwindled down. Only 3 tanks left for each team, as Brett is 1 shot away, as is Coffee Thief. And there goes the known one taking out Brett, and Tigers to Aggressor. This all of a sudden became in favor, very much so, of Rival, but they have to be careful because now it is 2-on-1, and Vetro is still sitting in a very comfortable spot unless he gets that reset. The problem is Aggressor has to go all the way to that cap to make that cap pressure matter, but it's still not. He has to take out those 2, or excuse me, Rival has to take out Vetro in order to win this.
They just managed to pick up that kill. I think it was...
Vetro just needs to run.
Yep, so I think it was Vetro that picked up the kill on that 140, taking out the cap pressure for Rival, and now they can't do it. It's going to be a 3rd victory in favor of eClipse.
Very unfortunate. Oh, man. Rival, they waited too long. They did not play with their time effectively.
They got that extra lead. They got the points. You know, the HP lead there. They got a tank down for free. It was a great pick on the T1 Diabetic.
It really
there
was.
Doing that climb.
They were on a fantastic start.
So it was good stuff for them there. However, the problem is that they really struggled to capitalize on it. Now I criticized M60s the other day for doing the same thing, getting that early pick on T1 and then going for the cap rush. And now it ended up working for them. I'm not a huge fan of that. However, anything is better than essentially what just happened. I see what they were going for. It could have worked. However, when when Vetro, is up on that boost, like I said, he's very hard to get out of there. They didn't bring artillery, so they can't use that to get him out of there. So you have 2 options. You can go for the cap like they did, but you have to screen it. And essentially at that point, eClipse left themselves in a very good situation to just get some resets and run, and that's pretty much what they did. Looking at the damage here, Vetro putting up 4,100. Brett coming in next at 2,900. Executus and Aggressor next for Rival Simple Tankers, with Unknown One and E63 picking it up. Ox Mathis putting up 2,700. So Vetro and Ox putting up pretty decent damage, as you would expect to them, with them primarily being damage dealers. E63 just not able to do a whole lot in that 113. 1,300, not a huge number there. Meanwhile, Commander J, Pub Whisper, and Coffee Thief all trailing for Rival Simple Tankers. That Batchat firing 11 for only 1,100, so obviously some blind shots and some shots at long range. However, 1,100 damage is essentially 4 shots out of a Batchat, and the fact that he fired 11 times is a little bit alarming. And then Pub Whisper doing the same thing, 900 damage with 13 shots fired.
Surprisingly, T1 Diabetic didn't do that much damage to that map.
I wonder why. Don't no idea why. So
can't imagine what would have caused
doing his best
that
job
lack of damage.
Just trying to do his best imitation of you playing a pub match.
Wow, that was
dropping in the first minute.
That was very oddly uncalled for and rude, but that's fine, James. That's it. I got nothing to say.
Okay. So, on to map. Well, it's still going to be on steps.
1v1, kid, anytime.
One more round on steps that we have here.
You and
eClipse.
Me. 1v1.
Let's go.
$100.
Let's go.
I won't choke this time, you know what I'm saying? All right, as we go into battle number 4. Is Rival finally going to make the comeback that they desperately need here? It is now 3-0 in favor of eClipse. It's hard to watch because I want so much Rival to kind of get out of this ditch that they seem to be stuck in, but they just can't get a break. I mean, even they're starting ahead of Team eClipse, taking out the tank of T1 Diabetic in that Batchat on the boost before he even got up there to do any effective damage or scouting, and they still weren't able to capitalize. They took too much time. Maybe they were hesitant, but Rival really has to dig deep right now.
They certainly do. 2 more losses, and it's just going to be, less points that they can get, and they'll only have 2 matches left after this. So points here for them would be huge. However, not looking like it's going to happen. However, that could turn around. They could pick it back up.
Yeah. And again, I hope to see Rival do so, but It's not looking good, James. I'll say that.
No, not at all. And eClipse doing the same thing, looking for an early boost up into A2. I keep saying boost. It's really just a climb when it's a tank by itself.
Right. This is a little bit of an unconventional defense I'm noticing, as quite a few tanks from Team Rival are actually going south. Usually we see a holdup all the way at the north 7-8 line around A7 and B7, but much more of a split defense here from Rival.
Yeah, this is actually a little bit of an older strat. It's not super uncommon. Some teams don't like it because they like to keep tanks up in the north, and especially
which
if
is
they
what
use
we've
that
seen
A0
for
boost.
most of this season.
Yeah, exactly. Previous seasons, we've seen a lot of teams, even back in 754, using T32s, pushing all the way down to where this 113 is. The thing about controlling the south here is if you control the south, you can take care of cleaning out that, or you can control that C5 spot safely. You don't have to worry about tank getting picked off there, and once you can get there, you can light. And tanks all the way over at D8 can actually have clean reset shots from there.
Oh, looking down south, though, Tigers is going to get fairly close, or excuse me, Mort is going to be very close to Coffee Thief and Aggressor, as he and Coffee Thief are going to proxylite each other. Commander J, though, is also lit, so some damage actually coming on a Mort.
So cap pressure starting to build. 30 seconds left on here. They actually have 3 tanks on cap.
About 20 seconds left. But still quite a bit of time on the clock. 7 minutes, but we are now down to 15 seconds. Still no resets coming out as they now go down and charge Mort to try to take him out. He should go down here in a second. And there's the reset. So again, Rival finds himself in a somewhat advantageous situation. 1 tank lead, and there is now no longer any cap pressure surmounting. So
now Executus
what they do with this is going to be the interesting thing.
Executus does get caught out by Tigers, who pushed across that middle road at the bat chat, but he does get into that corner relatively safe, and they still have guns up in the south that can cover him. However, both the bat chats down there are reloading, so it's up to the E63 and the 113, and the 140's up here to keep Executus alive.
And again, still a 1-gun lead as that slowly dwindles. Executus 1 shot away from going down. Aggressor pretty low as well. They find a shot on the E63 here. Meanwhile, Tigers is the only one taking any real sense of damage here from the team of eClipse and finding shots very well right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brett just working that hole down up there, trying to find some shots. However, they do have to give up their cap pressure, and they're choosing to take this moment to rotate through the south, hopefully pick off some tanks that have been left down there, thinking Rival kept their tanks separated. However, they have pulled them back out, and the only thing down there in the south is that RU-251 of Coffee Thief.
We'll have to see, again, what is Rival going to do with this 1-gun lead? Now, again, Executus is 1 shot away from being taken out of the fight. Aggressor is 2 shots away, but even still, I mean, they have a gun up, and we haven't really seen them fully take advantage of this type of lead against eClipse, which is what has lost in the last 3 games.
And they're bleeding HP left and right. Aggressor does get picked off by Tigers. And what went from being a very positive situation for
Commander
Rival.
J now pretty much just driving down that line. I don't like that play at all from him because he exposed himself to potentially any tanks on that side. Because we now see Brett and we see Wallhacks teaming up to take down that tank of Commander J. And now it is just a very grim situation here for Team Rival, as eClipse really just needs to clean up at this point.
Once again, just a very positive situation for eClipse. Not very favorable position for Rival, as I was about to say. And just
I mean, it was pretty favorable.
And it just flipped around, and eClipse just take the lead. And part of that has to do with an early rotation out of Rival. They got the tank down in the south, and then they went ahead and pushed Executus into that very C6 corner that I was talking about.
Pub Whisperer now going to go down. Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but unknown is about this game is going to be 100% in favor of eClipse. There is honestly really nothing that Rival could even do at this point.
It's 5,600 damage and a 3-gun lead, or 3-gun lead in favor of eClipse. It's going to take some sort of a miracle, multiple ammo racks back to back to back. Could happen.
I think we've seen, maybe 3 ammo racks this entire season so far?
Yeah, just have 4 of them in the same game. Why not?
I mean, don't get me wrong.
It can happen.
I would be incredibly hyped for that, but it's not going to happen.
Always hating, Dustin. Always hating.
I'm not hating on anyone. In fact, I'm rooting for Rival here, but eClipse, obviously the stronger team, even in a disadvantageous situation like we see Apex and all ever so often, able to turn around, and the ram from Ox gonna do it. It is now 4-0 in favor of eClipse. Rival Simple Tankers, they need to do something, and whether that's kind of rallying at this point when morale, I'm sure, is probably on the lower side because of these losses that they're taking, especially when they're starting out with amazing leads like the last battle where we actually saw T1 Diabetic go down almost immediately to the team of Rival, and just biding their time a little too long. That literally cost them the win because they were still at the end of that game one tank up.
So yeah, and looking at it, in Rival, you can tell they're doing their homework. They're coming up with these plays. They're getting good picks.
Right, and that's the thing that's frustrating to watch is they have what it takes.
Their openings are great. It's just that the finishing out of the game is just lacking for them, and that's not just been tonight, but just a lot of nights before this.
They just can't finish,
a problem that some people have sometimes. Look at it. Brett coming in there with 2,900 damage.
Get it together, James. We're professionals. Tigers, Brett, again, the whole team of eClipse here is on top with the damage. You're killing me, kid. Commander J and most of Team Rival on the bottom, so it's tough. I don't know what Rival can do, James. I really don't. It's tough. It's so tough because I want to see this team win. But Rival, you gotta pull it together. Again, they're starting with these leads. I don't know what can they do, James. What can they legitimately do?
Not what they've been doing.
Yeah.
The early plays are so great for them. They're getting the picks. It's just they can't finish out the round.
No, they can't. Let's go ahead into potentially the final map here between Rival and eClipse.
Runeberg, a mixed type map. The defending team starts the battle on the green, and the attacking team starts at the centre square of the town. Bases are located quite far from each other. Both bases are better controlled from the village when playing a heavy setup. It's better to attack the first base through the top direction with the help of several well-armoured heavy tanks. For the attack on the second base, it's better to use a more mobile setup and either play through the centre or split forces. In general, the map is not easy to play on. Teams often use blind shots and risky shifting of the forces from one flank to another.
So into battle number 5 here. Rival coming in with 2 113s, an IS-7, a 215B, 2 TVPs, and a 1390. Meanwhile, onto eClipse, choosing to go with a rather light lineup, bringing 4 Batchats, a Grill 15, and an Object 430. Still Wallhack playing that RU-251, Ox dropping into a Batchat.
And this is tough because Runeberg is, as you said, more of a defensive map, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
If they lose this, they're out. But this is, it's hard because it's in their favor off the bat, correct? Because it's a defensive map. So they need to make it happen here. And if they don't, and they lose the series, that's going to be a huge blow simply because this is a good situation for them, correct?
Yeah, this should be a round that they can pick up. And they are starting off, if you look at it, with a 1,200 HP lead right off of that. That's just based on lineups with eClipse going with a much lighter lineup. And looking at it, they're setting up for a very tricky dual push here. They're going to try to bait them into thinking it's a one cap play, and then have these tanks in the south come in late.
Lots of damage on Wallhack as he almost goes down one. That was actually a bounce, but no, Executive's going to take him out. So immediately, quite a lead, but still, Executives actually took some damage there. I'm not quite sure from whom, but I believe it was potentially Diabetic there. Oh, in the Grill. Interesting. I don't think I've seen a Grill come out of the lineup from eClipse in quite some time.
Yeah, I think they used it last time they played this map, and it's a good tank play position just because it's normally out of view range, so very low risk of being spotted.
That's a big gun.
And so when you have very tight gaps to shoot through, limited opportunities where an autoloader really can't pump out shells consistently because there's so many buildings for it to get covering, you'd rather do a lot of damage by landing one shot. So the Grill, being a very good tank there, we see sometimes 4,005s. in that same spot. A bounce coming off the bat chat as they push through the north.
I was going to ask you, it's a tank we only saw, I think, really just twice, and it hasn't been in the league since.
It's a one-trick pony. It'll work great in certain situations, but once the team knows how to counter it, they get done.
A lot of damage coming out here for both teams as Mort takes out Unknown One very quickly. Coffee Thief being low, but in the 1390, he's going to pick off Tigers in that bat chat. And this is a very good situation once again for Team Rival, but we're going to have to see if they can actually finish the job this time.
Now, the thing is these bat chats all have low shot counts in their clips right now. They're each going to drive forward and try to put 2 in E63. Mort bouncing is first.
Unfortunate.
However, the tanks from the south there, that Grill 15 and that 430, had shots onto the rear of E63, and they did take him down.
And just like that, eClipse has somewhat brought it back. Ox Mathis about to go down.
A big shot there onto Aggressor.
Yeah. Commander J, just putting the shot straight into the dirt. Missing every other shot. That is huge. When plays like that are happening out of a tank, especially a TVP with such a fast-shooting autoloader, you need to make those 4 shots count. And unfortunately, only one of those, and rolling quite low, I might add, onto Brett there, was very unfortunate. And now Brett is trying to take out Commander J in the TVP, and Vetro is actually going to pick up the kill there with the assist of Brett. And all of a sudden, this match has gone completely in favor of Team eClipse. In fact, they are going to clean it up and take the victory. James, it's not looking good for Team Rival right now. I mean, and not even obviously in this match, which they've lost, but just kind of this league in general. This is not the Rival that I was told to expect to see.
And it's not the Rival I expected to see this season. However, some roster changes have kind of left them coming up short pretty often. And once again, this round they didn't even actually have that strong a start. It was just they inherently had that HP lead.
They picked off Wally, I believe.
Yeah, they did get Wally early, so a good pick there using those TVPs, the very fast-firing clip, able to just pick a tank and catching him out as he tries to run. And eClipse maybe going with a little bit of a cheeky lineup there. Not a lineup, but positioning, trying to sucker them into thinking it's a north cap early.
The 3 bat shots, and then the 3 bat shots all the way to the north, and then they had the one grill kind of holding that angle. So it's just it hurts to see like a team like Rival, in which I've watched VODs before, just not play to the potential of which I have seen in the past. And you would think because of the way that things have went and the fact that they got a little bit of break that they would have time, but I mean, maybe real life gets in the way. I don't know. For whatever reason, Rival just can't seem to get their footing this season, and it sucks. It sucks to see.
Yep, so once again, these are just points that they're not going to pick up. Looking at it, the Grill 15 of T1 Diabetic putting up massive amount of damage there, 3,800, so doing a very good job being able to get his gun into the fight. It can be a very difficult position to play down there, down the F-line, because you're so far from the action. It's kind of hard to judge when you need to move in to make sure your gun stays in the fight. If you move up too early, you can get lit up and picked off. Being a Grill with paper armor,
Grill has
you can get caught out very easily, and so it does take a little bit of practice with that timing. However, T1 Diabetic and the rest of eClipse seem to have it down. Brett in that 430, able to do 3,000 damage, also playing there in the south. And then Ox, Vetro, Mort, all in bat chats that made that north push, putting up pretty decent damage. Executus and Aggressor picking it up for Rival Simple Tankers.
And then Tigers and Wally